What's good people? Welcome to Whole Views. Thank you for clicking that thumbnail. My name is Corey, and today we're going to be talking about Gen V. So I'm doing Gen V a little bit different from how I do other TV series that I watch and review. So most of the time I do a weekly episode recap and review of each of the shows. But with this one, they dropped 3 episodes at one time. And I think that's actually the perfect amount of episodes you want to drop to get your audience invested. You know, after 3 episodes or something, if you're not feeling it, you're probably not going to feel it. I watched 2 episodes of Gen V and I was like, yes, I'm in. I'm going to stick with this, even though it's just as rough as The Boys. And I do struggle with The Boys, like that, the grotesque nature of this universe that they've made. Man, it's kind of hard to get into. The dark stories that they tell about the characters, they really make you feel bad for some of them sometimes. I struggled, I didn't know if I was going to be into The Boys. It took me a while to watch season 1, and then after a full season, I was like, I'm invested. I want to see where this goes. With Gen V, it took 2 episodes and I was like, man, they are really doing a lot, but I'm willing to go along because this is a pretty cool mystery. And I'm actually hoping for the series that they don't stretch it out and try to make it a multiple season type of thing. Like, hey, give me like 2 or 3 seasons of this and be done. Like, wrap up this little arc and give me a small spinoff show. Don't give me a spinoff that's going to have the same shelf life as the original with 4 or 5 seasons of The Boys. Like, nah, I don't want 4 or 5 seasons of this. Give me like 2, maybe 3 of this little self-contained world. And it's not really self-contained. It's happening adjacent to, but it's separate from, which is good. I'm enjoying the fact that we have things happening of this nature, but are away from our main characters in The Boys universe. So, but let's get to like recapping and talking about the things that happened in the season and, how I felt about them, how I reacted to them, and just where I think the show really shines and where I think the show is just wild with some of the things that they do. So episode 1, you get the setup for Marie's character. And oh man, like I said, the universe is so dark. Like, you feel so bad for her character when the series starts, how she discovers her powers so naturally, but then at the same time in this universe, it can turn so deadly so easily, and it did. And with the death of her parents and all that stuff, I was like, man, you giving me a really tragic character here. And it just it felt as though they just didn't stop. Every time you turned and got introduced to a character, it was just more tragedy. So you get introduced to Marie's roommate, and she's the girl who gets small, and you see her small, got the little hamster and the thing, or the gerbil or whatever she has, and she's like about to box against it. I'm thinking, that's cool. That's a nice little way to like have a weird power. Don't know how useful it's gonna be. All this in the first episode, and then you get the reveal of how she actually gets small. She has to make herself throw up, and immediately you feel so horrible for her character because, of course, you get the blessing of this useful power. Like, oh, I can make myself change sizes. But then at the same time, it's like, oh, this is what you got to do it. Oh man! And then it's a reminder of the world that you're in, because this is the world established by Vought, where cynicism is at an all-time high. And one of the things that really stood out with her character is just, yes, she has to make herself throw up, but she's been doing it and she's been profiting from doing it, running a YouTube channel that is very, very popular, probably very lucrative. And it just made me think, these characters all have the propensity to do horrible things just to get ahead. And she's given herself basically an eating disorder. And then within a few episodes, they exploit that, which is another thing. But let's stick in episode 1. In episode 1, you continue to get things happening. You get Marie, who is invited to the popular friend group, and she's there with Golden Boy and Andre and Kate, and everybody's there present. And you have the incident in the nightclub, and then Marie becomes popular, and all this stuff is happening. She gets kicked out, and you have Golden Boy losing it. And the way he lost it really made me think that he was going to turn into a Homelander type character. But then he commits suicide out of the blue. Again, in the most disgusting way, where he blows himself up and there's chunks raining everywhere. It's crazy and it's weird. And that's the bow that they put on episode 1. And I just remember ending that episode and saying, well, okay, well, I gotta see where this goes. And then you get into episode 2 and they just continue to pull you down the rabbit hole. Episode 2 pulls you into the Vought world, the way they take everything and spin it, and everything that happens that they can't hide, they must find a way to profit from. And it just, on full display, they try to do this. And it leads me to a much bigger question that I have about another character, the Jordan Lee character. So with the Jordan Lee character, I'm thinking that, I know in real life, the trans community is probably loving the Jordan Lee character. The fact that this person has the male aspect that can go toe-to-toe with anybody, and then it also has the female aspect that can go toe-to-toe with just about anybody. Those people can change at will. That's like really highlighting a real life thing. And when you look at Vought as a company and the way they operate inside the show, I'm only talking about inside the show, I'm perplexed as to why they wouldn't lean into the trans identity of that character. The fact that that person represents for a huge demographic of people or a huge demographic of our population in real life. I'm sure that this version of America that Vought exists in, they exploit everything else. There was even a police brutality episode in which they tried to play to black stereotypes, and we saw from I think it was season 3 of The Boys, where you have the little theme park where they call it, like, I think it was Inclusion Island or something weird like that, and they have all the different demographics of people and they cater to them and pander to them. And it just blows my mind that Vought as a company would not try to play on the trans identity of Jordan Lee and like, let's market that, let's put that out there in front of people. I'm just blown away that they didn't try that. I know why they're not doing it in real life, because in real life, it's real life. But in the show world, I would think Vought was a slimy enough company to say, let's take that, let's use that, let's try to make some money from that. Let's pander. In episode 2, you get a lot more from Andre, and I'm actually surprised as to how much you get from him and how cool of a character he actually turned out to be. Based on his interactions in episode 1, I thought he was going to be really, really douchey of a character, just somebody who wasn't really likable at all. But the fact that he's there and he's like actually a decent person and wanting to do the right thing for his friend Golden Boy and like clear his name, or at least find out what was his reasons as to why he did the things that he did. I thought that was cool and that was noble of him. But then he also goes and turns around and does some things that I'm like, if you was really homies with Golden Boy, you wouldn't be doing what you're doing. So episode 2 ends with Andre getting rescued by Kate at the last minute. And again, just the way the episode ended, I knew that I had to continue on to the next one. So we roll right into episode 3. And episode 3 is the one where there's a gala where Jordan Lee's parents shows up, where we get an introduction to Andre's dad, and we interact with all these characters, as well as Andre sends Emma on this secret mission to the forest, which is beneath the facility, to break out Sam, who is Golden Boy's brother. Now that's a whole lot of stuff going on right there. But the standout thing to me is the fact that Emma proved herself to be useful in a way that I did not expect. I knew that they would use the getting small in some type of way. Didn't expect it to be on such a vital mission though. I thought there would be some other way that they would make their way into that facility. But the fact that she does it and immediately establishes some type of connection with Sam, super cool. I like it. It makes her character that much more valuable instead of just the roommate. And you could feel like she was going to be a little bit more important just because of the amount of screen time that she was getting. But I'm glad that they broke it down like that and she showed up to connect with the Sam character, because we see that show up again in episode 4. But staying in episode 3 and talking back about Andre in the beginning of the episode, you end up getting some type of little relationship established with Andre and Kate. And I must say, if Golden Boy was the homie, then you can't touch Kate. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm from a different era, maybe I'm cut a different way, but if that was really my best friend, then I can't be with the girl that he professed to love. I just can't see it happening. And if we really homies, there's no way this occurs. But regardless, the episode carries on, and it's a good episode. We get a lot of stuff happening here. But the biggest thing that happened is Sam went crazy at the end of the episode. We didn't get a chance to see it, but at the beginning of episode 4, we get the aftermath of Sam just tearing through guards and leaving bodies riddled in his wake. Emma herself went off going through someone's ear, it really made me think of the Thanos and Ant-Man situation from the comics. Like, oh, he can crawl up into someone and then expand and blow that person up. She didn't do that, but she did go straight through his ear and through his brain and everything else. It was ugh. Again, the over-the-top nature of this show. It shows up in a multitude of ways. Some ways that I'm not actually even talking about here in the video. There's multiple penises that are exposed and like huge on the screen in different ways. And they do this because it's what they do as a show. Like, they push the envelope as to what people are comfortable with. And I'm not saying it's a negative, but it is something that, like, I gotta watch with caution when I watch this show, because you never know what a flash on the screen from Gen V or The Boys. Like, you just never know what you get. Episode 4, you get a close-up view of Sam and his delusions and like all the things that he experiences. And I will say that is very close to what we saw with Black Noir and the cartoon characters. But then at the same time, it's much different because it's much more violent. You know, him having vocal cords and being animated and aggressive against the visions and the suggestions that he's getting from his delusions. So there's a lot going on with Sam, and it leads to a very explosive ending of the episode. But Tek Knight shows up in this episode. So you have a character who has basically amazing detection skills. Like, he can notice a person's pupil dilating, he can tell if a person's heart rate elevates from the veins that show in their neck and the little tells from the looking this way or looking that way or the smells that's on your breath. And he is an impressive character. It reminds me of something like Batman, except without the suit and all the levels of detection. Like, I can pick up all the things. And he's really, really cool in the beginning. But then as his character becomes more and more comfortable and pressing more and more towards the truth, you get the reveal of him and his scumbaggery, because it feels as though every character that exists inside of Gen V and The Boys have a level of scumbag to them. So Tek Knight's a scumbag, and he has the brain disorder where he's humping everything that has a hole, which is funny, but at the same time sick. They have a lot of little asides with his character doing things, and it's hilarious and at the same time super horrible behavior. Episode 4 ends in a way, and with the little preview for the next episode, it ends in a way that I just have to come back and see, because we end with Marie trying to talk to Sam in the backyard of Dr. Cordova, I believe his name. He's in that backyard and he's being subdued by Kate and Emma, and everybody's there, and Andre's there, and they're saying they're going to protect him, and it cuts halfway through her sentence, and then she wakes up in the bed with Jordan. And you get the little trailer for episode 5, and it's like they talk about missing days of time, and it just makes me wonder who is present that is able to do this to all these characters. We experienced that a little bit with Marie and the hypnosis guy that I don't even want to talk about his demise and the way he was taken out. But you get a little bit in that scene there with her. Here, we don't know who's present doing this stuff, but I know I want to see how it unravels and what happens in the gaps, because what happens in the gaps is going to be really, really big, I believe, for the back half of the season. So those are my thoughts and my little recap on the show. I think the show is very good. It just is so vulgar and so grotesque and so profane and all those things that I can't really recommend it to a lot of people. You got to be a special type of person to watch this stuff on a regular basis. You got to be a special type of person to have the stomach for it. I think that my investment with The Boys and 3 seasons of that have gotten me to the point where I can go along with it. But if I'm talking like to somebody who's never seen any of it, I'm not showing it. I wouldn't recommend it. My wife asked me, like, what are you watching this weekend that you're trying to catch up on and do all this? Like, you've been on the tablet a lot. And I'm like, yeah, it's this show. And she was like, we can't watch together? No, it cannot go on any screen in my house because I have 2 daughters. There's no, the amount of cursing there, we can't watch it at any volume. It's just not possible to watch it at any volume because it's too much that they do visually and audibly with the cursing, and it's too much. The grotesque with the blood and the guts and the blood and where it comes from sometimes is something else. So I don't know. I can't, and because I can't, I couldn't recommend it to others. But I do think if you have the stomach for it, it's a good show. It's in line with The Boys. I don't love the characters as much yet, but maybe that'll come with some time. Let me know your thoughts on Gen V. Do you think it's good? Do you think I'm just too sensitive to all the blood, guts, and stuff? Uh, all your thoughts, share them with me in the comment section if you so choose. Enjoy yourself, guard your heart, go watch something good.